we're still talking about the nostos as not just a homecoming, but a story about a homecoming, and how this particular reference in the Odyssey brings us into an epic tradition where the relationship between Odysseus and Athena is not very simple, and where there are all sorts of resentments on the part of Athena concerning what Odysseus did during the final hours of Troy. And that means that there's an ominous tone to the whole epic, and the mood is set by this index word, lugros, describing the nostos, which is really the performance of the song about homecoming. And then later on, when Penelope says that this particular song must stop, and it is disastrous again, lugrē. For her, this kind of song brings what she calls unforgettable grief, penthos alaston. And penthos, we already know, is not just grief, but again, a song of grief, the kind of song of grief that women sing when they perform laments. And I find it fascinating that what for others may be appropriate for epic is for Penelope appropriate for lamentation. Now, is that really so contradictory? I would say, and I know this is subjective, that there's a huge component of lament tradition built into the epic as we know it, in the Homeric tradition. It's just all over the place. And so it's not that you have to choose between kleos and penthos. A really good epic, if we use Homeric standards, has lots of penthos in it. But for some reason, the wording of Penelope implies that this particular epic is something that maybe the suitors don't understand, because all they can see is the excitement of the adventure of the Achaean who is trying to make his way home. And what they don't see is the emotional dimension that Penelope certainly sees, because why, it's about her own husband. And why does she think it's about her own husband? It's because he's the only one left who hasn't had some kind of ending to the story. His story is still in progress, whereas all the other stories have been told in the sense that the Achaean either got back safely or didn't.
And so his story, by being incomplete, is the most active.
Yes. And by being incomplete and being active, it's a realistic performance. It's as if the performance were still going on, the story were still being told, the outcome of the story is still not clear, so the suspense is definitely there.
I love this. The way it is visually constructed, that instead of the content of Phemios' song,
yes,
what we see is, so to say, a close-up of the face of Penelope with
yes,
tears streaming.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's so subjective. And I like the term that some literary critics use, intersubjectivity. In tragedy, the chorus, which sings and dances, is a wonderful medium for making that kind of connection. But there are so many other ways of doing it. And here in epic, I think you're quite right. This kind of visual close-up of Penelope's face is a way to bring that performative aspect to life. I think of the work of Dwight Reynolds working on the oral traditions of Egypt, where in the context of performance, the characters who are the heroes of the story are brought so closely into the group dynamics in the context of listening to the story that sometimes you can't tell the difference between the reaction of somebody in the group that's listening and the reaction of somebody in the story who is simply a character in the story, but in a sense, those those are also listeners, and they're also part of the response to the tradition. So I quite agree with you that the close-up brings that immediacy to the situation, and it is intersubjective.
Interesting, and the suitors, by the same device, are made not part of the group.
Yes,
Because they
yes.
are looking at Penelope,
Yes.
but they're seeing her in the wrong way. They're not connecting with her grief.
They don't get it, and therefore, for them, the epic is not a true epic. They may think it is, but it isn't.